Welcome back, everyone, to this safety call. Today we have a very special guest, Clinton. He's Canada's top sleep and fatigue specialist. Clinton takes the latest in fatigue science and turns it into practical, implementable solutions that reduce the risk of fatigue and propel the health, safety, and productivity of your 24/7 workforce towards excellence. Clinton has been working with PNR for over 7 years, providing incident investigation training, fatigue risk factors training. Clinton, whenever you're ready, you can take over the call. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction and welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody's got their morning coffee and you're getting ready to start the day. I do understand that people are starting their day. So what I'd like to do is I'll provide my presentation and we'll reserve some time at the end for Q&A, just in case people have got to get going. And all you're really interested in is hearing, what I have to say, and you don't have any questions. If that's the case, then, I guess feel free to drop off and start your day. So I'm understanding that time pressure. Let's work it that way. So yes, I call myself a sleep and fatigue specialist, and my sort of my main focus is working with organizations like PNR. They want to do something differently with sleep and fatigue. And by differently, I mean manage it not just for safety, but to help both organizations and individuals improve safety for sure, but also productivity, both at home in our personal lives, as well as at work, and health. If you do things properly, you should see improvements in individuals' health. And if you look at it across an organization, that means everybody in the organization is healthier as well. And of course, there's all sorts of other great benefits that come personally and organizationally from improving health. So those are the three areas: safety, health, and productivity. And I do it by helping organizations manage the challenges associated with sleep and fatigue. Okay, what I'd like to do as well is try and engage you a little bit. And I'm going to do so by using Slido polls. So let me just swap my screen here. Stand by. And we're going to change it up. If you can open up on your phone, on your computer, wherever you're watching this this presentation, open up slido.com. You see it at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, slido.com. Okay, and you'll see underneath slido.com there's some numbers. We'll use those numbers. For now, don't worry about this particular number, but we'll come back to those very shortly. Okay, and I'll jump back to the slides. Stand by. For those of you on the call, if you wouldn't mind making sure your microphone is muted as well, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, first things first. Really quick introduction here. I've been doing this type of work, sure, with PNR for about 7 years or so. I think we decided, but I've been doing this type of work for about 30 years now. Started in the clinical and applied side of things. If anybody's been to a sleep clinic, I would have been one of the night technicians, hooking you up to the wires and watching you sleep and helping you get diagnosed and treated. I did that for many years, and then eventually moved into the transportation and consulting side of things. Worked for the Transportation Safety Board of Canada for about 10 years as their sleep and fatigue specialist, and then returned to the consulting world. What are we now? 2015, so about 13 years or so ago. Do a few interviews on the television every now and then. They're kind of a fun thing to do. And recently, I wrote a chapter in what I think is poised to be probably one of the best textbook on sleep and fatigue management for the transportation world. It's called The Handbook of Fatigue Management in Transportation. If you're looking for a really great textbook to learn quickly about sleep and fatigue, this is the book for you. It's available on Amazon, I believe. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll find it for you. I'll show you where to get it. Okay, I mentioned that I'm a sleep and fatigue specialist. And I specialize in a specific area that combines the two. I call it sleep-related fatigue. So if we're going to be talking specifically about sleep-related fatigue, we should probably define it, probably let you understand what it is we're trying to manage here. So let me try and distinguish sleep-related fatigue from two other types of fatigue that it often gets entangled with, mixed up with. There are other uses of the term fatigue, but these are the ones that usually get some confusion. So the first one is mental fatigue. Now, let me try and get you to experience mental fatigue. And I'm not a morning person, so this would work perfectly for me. For those of you who aren't morning people, you'll feel fatigued pretty quickly too. I'm going to change my presentation demeanor, the way I present, and instead of like changing my voice around and moving a little bit, I'm going to give you sort of the death by PowerPoint type of presenter. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Clint. I'm a sleep and fatigue specialist. We have 4 hours to go. I have 400 slides. Slide number 1, mental fatigue, a psychological and physiological state resulting from spending extended or intense period of time. Okay, you kind of get it. If you were to sit there and watch me present like that for 3 or 4 hours, you would start having trouble paying attention because your brain would be fatigued. We call this cognitive or mental fatigue. It has something to do with cognitive workload, and it can occur when you essentially use your brain power intensely for a short period of time, like trying to get through an emergency situation or a real heavy time crunch with some tight deadlines, or using your mind, your cognitive powers, cognitive abilities for a long protracted time, right? Like trying to spend hours and hours as I here studying for an exam of some sort. If you were to experience those things, and then I was to ask you, how do you feel? You might say, I'm fatigued. But just because you've listened to me do a terrible presentation for 4 hours, you're not going to fall asleep more quickly. So there's something else going on there. Okay. Now I know I don't see, no cameras on, so I can't see if you are actually doing this or not. But
Hey, Clinton, can I interrupt for a second? Can you just give
sure,
us the code again, just so people can get signed into that Slido?
sure. So it is slido.com, SLIDO.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, I got that in the chat. We just need the code.
Yeah, the code will
Perfect.
come. The code will come. I don't want you to jump ahead and see my quiz questions just yet. Yeah. So as long as you've got the web page open, you don't have to log in or anything like that. Just have slido.com open. Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me describe another type or source of fatigue that sleep-related fatigue often gets confused with, and we'll see if you might even be able to experience it too if you try this little exercise. So what I'd like you to do is raise your hand up, right? Up until you start feeling a little bit of a strain in your arm. And as you've got your hand up, open and close your fist, your palm. Open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Okay, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Now do that for 3 or 4 hours. What's going to happen? Well, your arm is going to feel tired. You're not going to be able to do this for much longer. Okay, if you are doing it, you can stop. If you were to do this for 3 or 4 hours with your arm raised, and then again, I was to ask you, how do you feel? You might say, I'm tired. But just because you've done this for 3 or 4 hours doesn't mean you're going to fall asleep more quickly. So again, it's an experience of fatigue that results from a different source, physical movement. Like mental fatigue, it can occur when you use your body intensely for a short period of time. If say you're playing a sport or you're doing some heavy lifting at work. Results from intense physical movement for a short period of time, or long protracted movement, which a lot of us do. We're out there moving around all day long. And again, if you were to do those activities, to ask you, how do you feel? You might say, I'm fatigued. Different source of fatigue, though. It's important to understand what type of fatigue we're talking about, because the solutions for each one are different. Think for a moment, what's the solution for this? Stop doing this, right? It's stop doing the activity that's making you mentally or physically fatigued. That's the best approach, best solutions. This is why we have breaks built into our days to relieve us from a little bit of the cognitive mental fatigue and physical fatigue. Let our bodies rest, let our minds rest, and then you can return the activity and your performance will be back up to normal, or it should be. Okay. What I really focus in on is what we call sleep-related fatigue. This is the sensation of fatigue that can be barely perceivable, and in some cases not even perceivable, all the way up to feeling so fatigued that you're having trouble staying awake. There's both physiological changes in our brains and bodies that occur when we are experiencing sleep-related fatigue. And this type of fatigue doesn't result from mental work or physical work. It results from sleep-related factors, things like getting insufficient quality or quantity of sleep, by working at night when our circadian rhythms, our biological rhythms are all tuned to be asleep, or being awake for too long. That is using up the regenerative and restorative powers or functions of sleep over time. And the general rule is about, and you might want to keep this one in mind for the quiz later, the general rule is that 8 hours of sleep buys you about 16 hours of wakefulness. So we've got a ratio of 1 to 2 there. 1 hour sleep, 2 hours of wakefulness. So a long period of wakefulness, you can work that out, right? Longer than what 8 hours gives you. All right. Now, so why are we focused in on sleep-related fatigue? Well, there's a number of reasons for it. As you see on the slide here, one of the most important reasons for doing so is that it's riskier. It'll eventually lead to uncontrollable loss of consciousness. When you are fatigued enough, you will begin having what we call micro sleeps, where you can't stop the sleep onset. Your head bobs back and forth, your eyes close, and it's just for a few seconds. If you allow that to progress even longer, you will eventually fall asleep. That is, your state of consciousness will uncontrollably change. So it's dangerous. Now, well before that happens, it has stronger effects on both our brains and our bodies, stronger effects than mental and physical fatigue. And with those effects, our performance is more impaired as well. And it gets impaired well before sometimes we even feel fatigued. One of the reasons that we can't sense the fatigue and sometimes can't even sense our performance impairments is because there's an area of the brain at the front here called the frontal lobe, which is used for judgment, decision making, and sort of censoring our own abilities. It's called executive functions. When you are fatigued, even just a little bit, those functions become impaired. So it makes it very difficult to even sense the fatigue or sense your performance impairments. It's kind of like relying on an impaired brain to notice its own impairments. So it's a sneaky one. It's sneakier than mental and physical fatigue. It also requires a longer time and more complex solutions to recover from it. Because there is a change in consciousness that occurs with sleep-related fatigue, you usually need another change of consciousness or a change in brain activity to remedy it. Another important reason, which, well, I think it's a important reason, but not as important as doing so to improve health, safety, and productivity, it's because the regulators are now telling us we have to manage it. It's appeared on the watch list by Transportation Safety Board again this year. So yes, regulators are telling us to do it, so yeah, we got to do it. But the real reasons for doing it improve safety, health, productivity, and because of the greater risks, we focus more on sleep-related fatigue. It's actually what the regulators tell us we have to manage as well. They're not as worried about mental and physical fatigue. They are worried about sleep-related fatigue. Okay, let's jump into a bit of a quiz. I think you probably know more than you think you know about this area, but one of my jobs is to help you organize your thinking a little bit, and then to change or to use that thinking, that knowledge, in the development of practical solutions. Okay, so this is my area, and I want to show you that you probably know a little bit more than you do know. So we're going to do fact or fiction here. Okay, I've got a few quiz questions, and I'll give you a bit of background on the answers as we go. So bring up your window, your slido.com window, SLIDO. Okay, and I'll share my screen so you can see it as well. Let me reshare, stand by. Okay, so here is our first question. And in your Slido window, so you won't have this view. I've got the presenter view going on. You've got the participant view. There should be an area to write or type in this number, 2863 space 478. I'm pretty sure you need the space in there. So if you want to just copy and paste it, I will put it in the chat bar, 2863478. We've got some answers coming in already. That's excellent. So the first question is sleep debts. That is, the missing sleep must be paid back 1 for 1. So if you miss an hour of sleep, you got to pay back an hour of sleep. Now let's extrapolate that a little bit. Okay, we're seeing some good, 50-50 so far, jumping around. You can see that the numbers changing, see where it lands. Okay, not moving much. Okay, still giving another few seconds, see where we're at. See, I knew you knew more than you did. Okay, let's close it up there. 65% it said it's fiction. And now we're up to 70. Okay, let me jump back to the slides and I'll give you a bit of background on this one. Okay. I wish MS Teams would let you jump from 1 to 1 rather than closing and starting it, but here we are. Okay, so fact or fiction. This one, the need to pay back your sleep debt 1 for 1 is fiction. Okay, think about this for a moment. If you have a humongous sleep debt, and one of the greatest sleep debts occurred with a Guinness Book of World Records holder. His name was Randy Gardner, and he was awake for 264 hours and 14 minutes, something like that. In other words, he was awake for 11 days. He would have built up a humongous sleep debt, missing a ton of sleep. He only slept the first night for 14 hours, and then the next night for a little over, I think it was about 10 hours. In other words, with a sleep debt of, let's just go crazy here, like 100 hours, he was able to pay that sleep debt back with 24 hours of sleep. That's nowhere near a ratio of 1 to 1. And that actually works to our advantage. It does mean that there's a certain amount of sleep you need, or quality and amount, and timing of sleep to pay back that sleep debt. Generally, what we see in all of the research is that if you sleep well at night, not during the day, for 2 nights, that is, you're getting good quality and quantity of sleep, about 8 hours or so, twice in a row, your sleep debt has been paid back. So you don't need it 1 for 1. You just need the 2 good nights of quality and quantity of sleep. This is why we often have what are known as reset or recovery breaks built into the schedule. If you look at the duty and rest period rules for railway operating employees in Canada, there is a reset or recovery break that allows for 2 nights of good quality sleep. It's 36 hours off, at least I think it is, and ensuring people get those two nights of sleep. Okay, next one. After being awake for as little as 17 hours, some of your abilities may be reduced to the same level that you would see in somebody who's drunk. That is, if you are awake for 17 hours, some of your abilities will be impaired to levels that are very similar to somebody who's got a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05 to maybe 0.08%. Is that fact or fiction? I see some of you have already got into the poll. Let me just show it, make sure that everybody can see what's going on. There we go. The number for this one, okay, again, I think it's the same number because we just moved to the next, the next question, 2863478. Give it another moment. So after being awake for 17 hours, you're performing like you've been drinking. We're all the way up at 93% are saying fact. 94 now, looking pretty good. Okay, and I don't see it changing anymore. So yeah, you are correct. See, I told you you knew more than you thought you probably knew. Research is pretty clear here that the longer you stay awake, the worse your performance. And if you are awake around 17 hours, yeah, you're going to see impairments equivalent to what you would see in somebody who's legally intoxicated. If you're looking for, how much do you have to drink to get up to 0.05, 0.08, I didn't found a quick calculator. I'm not sure exactly how accurate, but I'll give you a good idea. For a gentleman who's about 180 pounds, you'd have to consume over 1 drink per hour for 3 hours. And same thing for a woman. 2 drinks in about an hour and a half should bring you up to 0.05%. So you don't, there's a reason that those figures or percentages are illegal. It's because it's not safe to operate in that in those conditions with that much alcohol in your blood. So if it's not safe to operate in that performance state due to alcohol, we probably shouldn't be doing so either for fatigue. All right, let's move to our next one. Okay, next question. If you can't sleep, one of the best things to do is to get out of bed and do something relaxing in low light. What do you think of this one? Okay, and we'll jump over. We'll stand by. I'll show it so we can see where people are voting. There it is. Move to the next question. There we go. If you can't sleep, one of the best things to do is to get out of bed and do something relaxing in low light. See some voting coming through here, 100% so far. We got 13 people voted. Fact. Now, this is an odd one, because it seems strange. If you can't sleep, shouldn't you just, lie in bed and continue to try and sleep? Isn't getting out of bed sort of contradictory? How are you going to sleep if you're not in bed and doing something, to keep you awake? Okay. We'll close it off there. 95%, excellent. And only 5% say fiction. Okay, that's great. I've got the next set of quizzes is from a different portions. Let me, where are we with this one? Stand by, I will find it. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's just talk about this strategy. Getting up and getting out of bed when you can't sleep comes from a set of strategies that we use for people who've got insomnia. If you are lying in bed and you can't sleep, what you're actually doing is pairing being awake and in bed to your brain, right? So your brain learns that when I'm in bed, the thing to do is to be awake, which then makes it worse. The next time you crawl into bed, your brain says, I'm in the bedroom, I'm in bed. I was awake yesterday, I should be awake again. So there's this behavioral association that occurs that actually worsens things. If you get up, get out of bed, now you're pairing the wakefulness with being out of bed. Right? So your brain really should learn that the only thing I do in bed is sleep. If you're doing something relaxing, well, you're not activating your brain again. You're keeping it in a subdued state so that if there is some sleep-related fatigue, it will surface and allow you to eventually fall asleep again. And by doing it in low light, you're not stimulating the eyes with light, which can signal to the brain that it is time to be awake. So in low light, and if at all possible, filter out blue light. I'm sorry, I don't have my blue light filtering glasses here, but you may recall these old television commercials called blue blockers. It's essentially some glasses with a filtering lens that takes away the blue. Blue is the offending light at night. you don't want blue in it. So if you can do that, that's great. If not, then at least be in low light. Okay. Now let's move over to giving you, so that's a bit of background on sleep and fatigue, and most of you knew those ones. Let me give you a couple of reasons to take away to think about. So so what? So what? So we're fatigued. Why should we even worry about sleep and fatigue? Okay. So quiz again. 5% of all workplace injuries are due to sleep problems. Let's bring up the poll here. Stand by. I'll swap my screen out. It is a different number for this one. Okay, where are we? Window. Okay, so if you still have Slido open, the number this time is 3995225. And I will put that in the chat bar in case you just want to copy and paste it. 3995 space 225. There we go. I see some votes coming in. What do we got here? Okay, got about 5 or so, 3 people voting so far. What do you think? 5% of all the injuries we have at work. Okay, 75% saying yes, it's true. 6 people now. All right, get some higher numbers. Okay. We got 10 people. Okay, give it another moment here. See if we can get up to 15 people voting, and then we'll cut it off. Okay, we're not moving anymore. So 58% are saying it's true that 5% of all the injuries at work are due to sleep problems. And sleep problems lead to fatigue. So in other words, the injuries are probably due to fatigue, 5% of them. Now, this was a bit of a trick question because the number is actually higher than that. There was a really great study that did a review. It looked at review and meta-analysis. It looked at a whole bunch of other studies, and it found that the percentage is double that, over double that. It's about 13% of all workplace injuries are likely to due to sleep-related issues. So poor quality sleep, being awake for too long, leading to fatigue, which decreases our abilities. And then we have our injuries. And we'll talk about some of the abilities in a moment. So it's a pretty high percentage. Now, I haven't read anything like this, but if we're having injuries at work because of fatigue, the fatigue doesn't disappear when we're at home. So we're probably having a lot of injuries at home that could be attributed to fatigue too. Stubbing your toe on the table or the chair leg. Okay. Okay. Next question. Before we go there, I told you I was going to give you some information about abilities. The reason that we have these injuries is because the abilities we rely on to stay safe and, of course, injury-free are the exact ones that get impaired by fatigue. Things like our reaction time. So we might see an obstruction in our way, but we can't react quickly enough to get out of the way, and then we end up bumping into it. Attention. Sometimes your attention becomes focused on the wrong information. So rather than, if we just use a simple injury like a trip at work, your attention might be taken away from the trip hazard onto something not really appropriate, and then you miss the trip hazard and you fall and hurt yourself. Okay, so these are the abilities that are very sensitive to fatigue, and they just so happen to be the ones that keep us safe, which is a recipe for some higher risk there. Okay, so one of the very first reasons to worry about sleep and fatigue is, of course, safety. Fact or fiction, our next quiz question. This is a fun one. You can save 9% on your fuel bill if you proactively manage fatigue. What do you think of that one? And I just moved to the next question on the Slido poll. So you should be able to just jump right in and see it. See some people voting already. Same number, 3995225. I will share the screen so you can see the results. Stand by. Go, people voting. Yep. So can you save 9% on your gas monthly if you deal with fatigue differently, if you proactively manage it? That is, get in there to try and prevent it as much as possible. What do you think? I think about 12 people, 13. See if we can get one more vote in there. 14. Let's see if we can get 15 votes. See if we get one more person voting. See if we still have 15 on the call. Okay, looks like, oh, there's 16. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, that's great. So this is true. There's a really interesting study done out of Australia a couple years back, where they looked at train operators, and they found that train operators who are fatigued handle their trains less efficiently. Lots of hard braking and lots of hard throttling to get back up to appropriate speed, track speeds. Now, if you think about what's impacting that train handling, it's probably reaction time, right? You see something ahead that means you've got to slow down. You don't react as quickly, so your braking distance shrinks. What do? You hard brake. Now, of course, trains are long, heavy vehicles. So what do you do to get back up to speed? You have to hard throttle. Translate that into driving your own car. Probably the same thing happens. You're driving down the highway, you see red brake lights, your brain picks up the red lights, but you don't react as quickly as you can. Braking distance shrinks. So what do? You got to slam on the brakes, right? So you drop your speed really quickly. Now you've got cars behind you. You don't want to be struck by a car coming behind you. So what do? You speed up really quickly, hard throttle. So I think you'd probably save, I'm not sure if it's going to be 9%, but you definitely save on gas if you pay attention to your sleep to prevent fatigue as much as possible. That's a pretty fun finding, I think. Okay, next one. Talked about that one. So just to summarize that, one of the other reasons for managing sleep and fatigue is for productivity efficiencies, right? Both in our personal and our work lives. So there's some benefit there for us individual. Okay, next question. Dr. Fiction, reducing your risk of fatigue won't, that is, will not have an effect on your health. So managing fatigue is not going to change anything other than the fatigue. What do you think? Okay, and I'll move the Slido to the next question, and I'll share it so you can see the results coming in. Where are we at here? Okay, reducing your risk of fatigue won't have effect on your health. Fiction or fact? What do you think? Okay. See, I knew you knew more than you thought you did. Everybody's coming in usually at the right level. So at 16 there. Okay. Very good. Okay, so let me give you a bit of the background on this one and how it works. And you'll see that it kind of makes sense. Okay. If we're talking about sleep-related fatigue, it means that we're talking about fatigue that is due to, something messed up with our sleep. There is a ton of research and more, almost monthly now, coming out showing that poor sleep, that is not getting the right sleep, quantity of sleep, sleeping at the wrong times, too long, has direct impacts on almost every aspect of our mental and physical health, both long-term and short-term. Here's just a few little stats that I pulled out for us to have a quick look at. And you'll see that there are long and short-term difficulties that occur because of not getting the right sleep. And you'll see that there's both mental and physical health things. So if you're not sleeping long enough, so 6 hours or less, you'll increase the risk of things like depression, bipolar disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. So if we flip it around, sleeping more than 6 hours will reduce the risk of those negative outcomes. Okay? One really timely finding for this time of year, cough, cold, and flu season, the way this finding came out is the researchers took a group of people and they said, hey, this group, you're allowed to sleep for at least 7 hours. And they were able to do so as well. Another group, they said, we're going to get you up about 6 hours, so less than 7 hours, and see what happens. And in both groups, what they did was they took a little petri dish with some cold virus in it, took a Q-tip, swabbed it in there, and they rubbed it in people's nostrils, both groups, and they watched what happened. And of course, the group that didn't sleep as long got the cold when they're exposed to the virus 4.27 times more likely to do so. If we move that into a percentage and flip it to something positive, so this cold and flu season, you can reduce your risk of getting one of those viruses when you've been exposed to it by 76%. That's a pretty high and pretty positive outcome. What else is interesting in here? Obesity. That's another interesting one. It's much harder to maintain our weight if we aren't sleeping long enough. So if you sleep longer, so 7 hours or more, and then you notice a lot of this is at 7-hour cutoff, you can decrease your risk of obesity that could lead to clinical obesity problems as well. And one of the reasons it does that is because it impacts two hormones, ghrelin and leptin. And sorry, I can't remember which one does which, but one of them suppresses appetite, one of them increases appetite. When you are fatigued, the suppressing hormone doesn't work as well. There's not as much of it. In other words, your appetite suppression is gone. And the other one that increases appetite is more active. So you've actually lost appetite suppression abilities and gained appetite. So you just are hungry. You want to eat more when you are not sleeping as well. And again, these are just a few of the pretty strong findings showing the tight link now between sleep and mental and physical health. So if we pull this all together, what I like to say is that the management of sleep and fatigue, and because you can't manage fatigue with also managing sleep, it's a pillar of both our personal and our organizational health, safety, and productivity. They're a building block. And this is pretty consistent with the way the medical world is going as well. Medical practitioners are now being told to ask about sleep when they're doing vital signs. So if you're getting your heart rate, your blood pressure, your body temperature checked, they are also supposed to ask about your sleep. That's how strong the link is and how great the importance is. Okay, that's where I wanted to get to. I think most of the questions in that quiz, the majority of people got it right. So I see you do know more than you thought you knew.